"Marcia, the card isn't working. I won't be able to get back home like this. Fix this right now," yelled my husband over the phone, unable to check out of the hotel. When I was in college, I lost my parents in an accident and had to work multiple part-time jobs to cover my tuition, struggling through my student life. To turn things around, I took a friend's advice and started a business. Despite facing many hardships, I focused entirely on work. As a result, the company steadily grew, and I now participate in management as vice president. While many of my friends were getting married and starting families, I also began to seriously consider my happiness. I instantly hit it off with my husband when we first met. We got married within 2 months. However, after getting married, my husband started relying on my income and declared he would become a stay-at-home husband. I've been urging him to at least work part-time, but he refuses to listen. One day, I noticed my credit card was missing. My husband had taken it and gone on an overseas trip with his parents. I tried calling him several times, but couldn't reach him. When I finally got through, he sneered and said, "Don't interrupt me while I spend time with my family, something you're incapable of doing." "Got it," I replied with a smile. Little did my husband know, his misfortune was about to catch up with him. My name is Marcia Gray. I'm 33 years old and currently serve as the vice president of a venture company. I am now financially stable, but I once experienced a time so difficult that I struggled to even afford food. The reason behind this was the unexpected loss of my parents during my time as a student. My parents were struck and killed by a car that ran a red light as they were crossing the intersection. Back then, I thought I would continue leading a normal life, spending time with friends at cafes and studying together. But the death of my parents turned my life upside down. After their passing, financial difficulties became a major source of concern. The biggest challenge was figuring out how to pay for my tuition. I tried to cover it with scholarships and part-time jobs, but that wasn't enough, so I found myself constantly working multiple jobs while attending classes on barely any sleep. One day, Morris Ward, a classmate, made an unexpected proposal. "Marcia, how about we start a new company together? If we combine your talent with my business skills, we have a good chance of succeeding." Morris was highly regarded at the university and respected by many. Starting a company involved great responsibilities, but I decided to take that challenge face forward. I was constantly worried about what would happen if we failed and how I would find the time given my busy part-time job schedule. But how will we handle it if we fail? Besides, I'm too busy with part-time work and don't have the time, I said. Morris smiled warmly, as if he fully understood my concerns. I then saw a determined spark in his eyes. "Don't worry, we'll succeed," he assured me. His confident words had a strange way of bringing comfort, and his charisma made even the impossible seem within reach. At that moment, I felt a strong need to break free from my current situation, so I agreed, and we founded a venture company while still in university. During the initial stages of funding, we frequently faced rejection from banks, making it extremely difficult. Hiring was also a major challenge, as it wasn't easy for a small startup to attract talented people. Even after placing job ads, few applicants came forward, and finding the right candidates was very tough. However, thanks to Morris's calm decision-making and precise advice, we gradually strengthened our team. As a result, the company steadily began to grow. Morris and I developed a deep trust in each other, overcoming many challenges together, and solidified our bond as key business partners. As time passed and I reached the age of 33, I suddenly realized that I had devoted almost all my time to work. I didn't regret the effort I put into paying for my education and supporting myself alone. I take pride in the company I built from the ground up. The business is thriving, and as a venture, it has achieved notable success. Over 10 years have passed, and both the number of employees and revenue have significantly increased. However, as close friends around me began getting married and starting families, I realized that my life revolved entirely around work. In a moment of self-reflection, I started questioning my current lifestyle. One day, after a lunch meeting, I was talking with Morris and suddenly voiced those feelings. "Morris, lately I've been seeing friends my age getting married, and it made me think." Morris was a bit surprised by the unexpected topic. "What's this all of a sudden?" he asked. "I've been focused solely on work since graduating from university, but I'm starting to wonder if that's really okay." "Are you saying you want to get married?" Morris asked in return. After hearing my thoughts, Morris pondered for a moment before responding. "If you're not satisfied with how things are now, seeking change is one option." "I see. Life isn't just about work. That applies to marriage too. But if you want to enrich your life moving forward, I recommend taking that first step." Hearing those words gave me a chance to reflect on my life and reconsider my direction. I had never really thought deeply about anything outside of work before. Encouraged by Morris, I decided to start looking for a partner. A friend introduced me to a safe matchmaking app, and I started using it right away. I scheduled dates after work, spending time at restaurants, bars, and movie theaters. After several dates, on the fourth one, I met Ryan Torres. I was swamped with work and not good at household chores, but Ryan was efficient and excelled at cooking and cleaning. He understood my busy schedule and never got upset, even if I had to cancel a date. Our relationship progressed smoothly, with both of us thinking about marriage from the beginning. Just 2 months after we started dating, we decided to get married. However, right after the wedding, Ryan suddenly announced that he was quitting his job and becoming a stay-at-home husband. I was surprised by this unexpected turn of events and couldn't hide my shock. "What just happened?" I asked, bewildered. Ryan replied calmly. "From now on, I'll handle the household chores so you can focus on your work." "But why would you make such a decision without even discussing it with me?" As I struggled to process this, Ryan nonchalantly explained. "You're earning an income, so there's no issue. If I take care of everything at home, it'll make things easier for you." I was stunned by his response. Was he planning to completely rely on my income? "Even though I'm earning, we're not that well off. You should at least find some kind of job," even if it's just part-time. But no matter how much I pleaded, he refused to listen. No, I'm done working for a company. If you're making money, that's enough. I was simply dumbfounded by his selfishness, but as a newlywed, I couldn't bring myself to argue back at that moment. To make matters worse, he also started asking me to send money to his parents. Family is about helping each other. I'm a stay-at-home husband now, so Marcia, I'm counting on you. But if he was earning an income, I wouldn't mind supporting his parents, but forcing it onto me didn't feel right. Another reason I hesitated was because his parents frequently made snide remarks, falsely believing that I was forcing Ryan into doing the housework. Recently, while having a meal with his parents, they started their usual criticisms. His mother put down her chopsticks and said, "Marcia, you're making Ryan do all the housework. Poor him. Do you really think this is right? He mentioned she's not good at housework, but as his wife, shouldn't you work on improving that?" His father added, criticizing me. I didn't know how Ryan had explained things to them, but it was clear they saw me as the villain. That's not true. Ryan was the one who wanted to be a stay-at-home husband. I protested, but Ryan quietly whispered, "Calm down, just support me here and apologize. I'll clear up the misunderstanding later." Even though he whispered those words, I was frustrated that he didn't stand up for me at that moment. I kept asking him if he had cleared up the misunderstanding afterward, but he always brushed it off, saying, "I haven't had the chance to talk to them." I felt rejected by my in-laws and unsupported by my husband, leading me to despair over this marriage and start considering divorce. However, when I went to the hospital because of persistent stomach pain, I unexpectedly found out that I was pregnant. I felt a mix of surprise and joy and rushed home to share the news with my husband. "Ryan, I'm pregnant," I told him. "Really? That's great. I'm looking forward to it," he replied, surprisingly calm, which left me a bit confused. After that, there was no shared happiness between us. He just sank into the couch and watched TV as if my words meant nothing. The joy I felt quickly evaporated, replaced by disappointment and sadness that seeped into my heart. His lack of interest deeply hurt me. Unable to hold back my tears, I retreated to my room, disillusioned by his indifference. Has the love we once shared faded away? Even with a new family member on the way, he didn't seem happy. I realized there was no longer a future for us together. The thought of divorce loomed heavily in my mind. But considering the child growing inside me, I couldn't make that decision so easily. Could I really raise a child without a father? Maybe things would change once the baby was born. Perhaps my husband and in-laws would show a different attitude. Clinging onto this faint hope, I resolved to continue with this life for the time being. Time passed, and one day, I noticed an unusually large charge on my credit card statement. Then I realized the card wasn't in my wallet. Had I lost it, or had it been stolen? Or was it used fraudulently? Feeling anxious, I brought it up with my husband. "Hey, I found a large, unfamiliar charge on my credit card. It might be a fraud. Should I contact the card company?" I asked. To my disbelief, he responded, "I was the one who used it. It's not fraud, so don't cancel the card." Apparently, after quitting his job and running out of savings, he had secretly taken my credit card from my wallet and started using it without telling me. Even though I had been giving him money for groceries and household expenses. "Why did you use it without my permission? And what did you spend such a large amount on?" I pressed him. "It's my right to spend it on whatever I want. I just need some money I can use freely." He shot back. "Then get a job and buy things with your own money." I retorted, but this was a conversation we had repeated countless times. No matter how much I pleaded or got angry, my husband had no intention of working. The man I once thought would support our household was now hardly cooking meals, relying mostly on takeout and delivery, and barely keeping the house clean. When I complained about this, he lashed out in anger. "You're the one making the money, so what's the problem? I'm your husband, and I'm doing the housework as a stay-at-home husband. I have the right to at least that." He shouted and eventually stormed out, saying he was going back to his parents' house. Anger and sadness filled me over his actions. Aren't families supposed to support each other? I'm pregnant now, but I'm starting to seriously doubt how much he really cares about our future as a family. My hard work has built the career and income we have now. Just because we're family doesn't mean I can accept him making large purchases without consulting me. I took deep breaths repeatedly to hold back the tears and anger. That night, he suddenly returned home with his parents. The door burst open, startling me as I stood up. The moment his parents came in, they immediately began their harsh criticism. "It's because you've been forcing housework on Ryan that he's been neglecting his duties." They accused me. "As a woman, you should be doing the cooking, laundry, and cleaning. Don't use work as an excuse to slack off." They continued. My anger reached its peak. Being pregnant and already feeling unwell, I couldn't bear being blamed like this. I had already decided to get a divorce, so I lashed out with anger in my voice. "That's impossible. Don't act high and mighty when you don't even know what's really going on. You'll regret it if you keep acting like this." They looked shocked by my cold tone. I realized it was pointless to argue with my in-laws, who had been misled by my husband, and even after explaining that he wasn't working, they refused to believe me. So I decided to say nothing more. I couldn't shake the feeling that they would regret this later, but at that moment I felt the painful sting of betrayal from the husband I once believed would protect me. Then, my mother-in-law pulled out some documents from her bag and slammed them onto the dining table. "If you don't reflect on your actions, we're demanding a divorce. Sign this and get it done," she said, and my eyes were glued to the papers. I never imagined they'd present it to me like this. In fact, I had been planning to propose divorce myself. Thinking this might lead to a court battle, I signed the papers. My hand trembled so much that even gripping the pen was difficult. Fighting back my anger, I forced myself to sign the documents and said, "There, it's done." With that, my husband and in-laws left. I realized I had forgotten to ask for my credit card back, and a deep sense of despair washed over me. Immediately after, a sharp pain suddenly shot through my abdomen, unlike anything I'd ever experienced before, and I collapsed onto the floor. My breathing grew rapid, and sweat began to pour from every part of my body. My vision blurred, and the unbearable pain numbed my senses. I tried to say, "What's happening?" but the words barely escaped my lips. With each breath, the pain intensified, and my body spiraled out of control. I struggled to drag myself across the floor, desperately reaching for my phone. My fingers trembled as I clawed at the floor, inching forward with every ounce of strength I had left. The searing pain threatened to steal my consciousness. I finally connected the call and, in a trembling voice, managed to explain the situation. "Help. I'm in severe pain. I'm pregnant." I gave them my address and ended the call. The pain wouldn't let up, and my vision grew even hazier. I collapsed on the floor, waiting for the ambulance to arrive. "Please, protect my baby," I prayed desperately. Even as I endured the agony, I kept telling myself I had to hold on for the sake of my child. I was rushed to the hospital, facing the sudden threat of premature labor. The doctor diagnosed my condition as caused by stress and overwork, and I was immediately admitted to the hospital. Overwhelmed by fear for my baby's safety, I must have passed out after arriving at the hospital, as a wave of relief hit me. After being in a coma for 2 days, I finally opened my eyes in the hospital room. The pain had subsided, and my body felt somewhat more relaxed. I suddenly became aware and checked my belly. I could still feel the presence of new life there. I took a deep breath, feeling comforted by the quiet surroundings and the soft light coming through the window. Gradually, my memories came back. I recall the intense abdominal pain, the emergency ambulance ride, and the terrifying feeling of losing consciousness. Grateful that I was safe and still here, my thoughts turned to my husband. I need to contact him. I grabbed my phone and dialed his number, but he didn't answer. I remembered giving the paramedics his contact information when I was transported, but I hadn't received any word from him. I tried calling several times, but still no response. Anxiety began to weigh heavily on me. On the 5th attempt, he finally answered, but his voice sounded strange, and the connection was poor. "What do you want at this hour?" he asked. I was rushed to the hospital due to signs of premature labor. "It happened after you and your parents left." I asked him to bring some necessities, but his response shocked me. "That sounds tough, but I'm overseas right now, so I can't do anything." "Overseas? Why?" I asked, stunned. "I'm enjoying a vacation in Singapore. Don't bother me while I'm spending time with my parents, to fulfill my filial duty, something you can't handle," he replied. I was left speechless. There's no way an unemployed man could afford an overseas trip. But since he kept emphasizing filial duty, there must have been some source of funds. With my voice trembling, I ended the call with a simple "got it." Afterward, I went straight to the hospital's gift shop, purchased stamps and an envelope, and then made a phone call to a certain number. The next day, my husband called in panic. "The card's not working. I can't get back home like this. Fix this right now," he demanded. I canceled the card. I calmly replied, though inside I was seething with anger. "What? I can't pay for anything. What are you going to do about it?" he asked, growing more desperate. "That's your problem," I answered firmly. "This isn't just my problem. I'm still your husband." He shot back. I couldn't help but laugh. "What's so funny?" he asked, clearly confused. "Our marriage is almost over. The divorce process is already underway," I said, and his voice shifted to a tearful tone. "Please just let me use the card temporarily so I can get home. I'm begging you," he pleaded, but my heart was unmoved. "Figure it out on your own. You're no longer my concern," I coldly responded and ended the call. 3 days later, Morris, my friend and the company president, came to visit me. "Don't worry about work, just focus on resting for now," he said, to which I replied with a smile. "It's the first time I've done absolutely nothing like this." But just then, the hospital room door burst open. My ex-husband and his parents, freshly returned from overseas, stormed in. The moment he saw me, my husband shouted, "What have you done?" "I had to borrow money from a friend just to get back home," his mother screamed. "This is unbelievable. How could you put us through this?" His father joined in, yelling. Our son's carefully planned trip was completely ruined. Their fury exploded as Morris and some passers-by watched. Despite the commotion, I remained calm. He paid for the trip with my credit card, without my knowledge. The moment I said that, the atmosphere in the room shifted. My in-laws exchanged stunned and bewildered looks, their faces reflecting the shock as if they had been struck by lightning. I continued speaking. "Right after we got married, he announced he would be a stay-at-home husband and quit his job. But he's barely been helping with the housework." As these words quietly echoed through the room, I could see the visible distress on my in-laws' faces. "What? Ryan isn't working? That can't be true. He told us he had a job." My mother-in-law stammered, her voice trembling, with clear worry and confusion in her eyes. My father-in-law also looked at me, his face a mixture of shock and disappointment. "The truth is, he's been unemployed the whole time, and I've been the one supporting the household." Hearing this, my in-laws turned to my ex-husband with expressions of disbelief. Their eyes were filled with betrayal and deep disappointment. My mother-in-law pressed her lips together tightly, while my father-in-law clenched his fists in anger. My ex-husband couldn't do anything but avert his gaze under their piercing stares. At that moment, Morris began to speak. "Mr. and Mrs. Torres, I have something important to discuss with you. I'm the CEO of the company where Marcia works. Through our conversations, I've been made aware of Ryan's unemployment and the fact that Marcia has been the one financially supporting the household." As Morris said this, My in-laws' faces showed shock and disbelief. He calmly presented his business card and showed them the company's website. They took the card, their hands trembling as they examined it. They couldn't deny the truth any longer, and their expressions became a blend of astonishment and confusion. As a matter of fact, our company is currently a key client for a major project at Mr. Torres's workplace. However, we do not wish to continue working with unreliable partners. This can't be happening. What's going to happen to the project? Ryan, how are you going to explain this? My father-in-law stammered, his voice shaky, barely able to get the words out. He looked as though he'd been utterly crushed. My mother-in-law, too, buried her head in her hands with an expression of disbelief. How did it come to this? They were both pale, their despair evident. Wait. Marcia, please help me. I want to make things right. Ryan pleaded. My ex-husband grabbed my hand tightly, desperately pleading with me. His eyes were filled with despair and fear, and his hand trembled. Given how he had ignored me in the past and done as he pleased, I wasn't surprised to see him begging like this. It's too late. I can't forgive your past actions, and this is the end, I said firmly, pushing his hand away with determination. Please help me. He begged, dropping to his knees on the floor. At that moment, Morris presented some important documents. Can you still say the same thing after seeing this? The documents revealed an investigation Morris had quietly conducted into my ex-husband's actions. They detailed how he had falsely claimed to be sending money to his parents while actually keeping it for himself, and how he had been recklessly spending my income. I can't tolerate anyone hurting a valuable business partner, Morris said, revealing his intentions with a hint of shyness. But his eyes showed a strong resolve. I've already been in touch with our lawyer. You should prepare to compensate. Morris calmly informed the three of them with a polite yet businesslike smile. I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and relief for all that Morris had done for me. As I lay in my hospital bed, I gazed out at the scenery through the window. Since that day, the stress had lifted, and I recovered from the threat of premature labor, eventually giving birth to a healthy baby. My heart is filled with a mix of emotions: joy at the birth of new life and the exhaustion from childbirth. Morris and my colleagues even visited to celebrate, and I've been enjoying fulfilling days. After being discharged, I moved into a new apartment that Morris had arranged. Thanks to his thoughtful care, we chose a new address where my ex-husband and in-laws would never find us. This has ensured our privacy and safety, free from any unnecessary interference from them. The new place was in a quiet area, slightly removed from the hustle and bustle of the city, surrounded by lush greenery and peaceful silence. It's an ideal environment, free from the noise of the city, where one can spend peaceful moments and enjoy the tranquility of nature. Whether for a walk or a deep breath, this place offers a sense of calm and comfort created by nature. Here, my newborn baby and I are beginning a new chapter in our lives. With this fresh start, there is as much anticipation as there is anxiety, but the presence of supportive people around me has greatly eased that anxiety. A few weeks have passed since I gave birth, and I'm currently on maternity leave, spending some slow and peaceful time with my baby. During this precious time, Morris visits us regularly, bringing essentials and other necessary items while always offering words of encouragement. One day, he arrived again with new supplies in hand. Seeing us, he asked with concern, "Marcia, how are you feeling?" "The baby looks healthy, and that's what matters most." "Thank you, Morris. We've been able to get through this because of your unwavering support," I replied, expressing my gratitude. After inviting him inside, I gently laid the baby down in the crib and prepared a warm cup of coffee for him. Looking slightly tense, Morris brought up an important topic. "I need to talk to you about your ex-husband and his parents," he said. "Is something wrong?" I asked. Morris then revealed that he had been keeping an eye on their situation to ensure our safety. They sold their house to pay the compensation and are now living in an old, run-down apartment. Your former father-in-law lost his job, and all three of them are working around the clock," he reported. He placed some documents on the living room table. "It turns out my ex-husband has been struggling with daily labor at an unfamiliar construction site. His laziness from his days of helping with housework persists, leading to frequent scolding during work. As a result, he's finding it very difficult to adapt to his current job. Meanwhile, my former mother-in-law works 2 jobs during the day as a cashier at a supermarket, and at night on a sandwich production line, tirelessly working without rest. She's suffering from back pain, but doesn't have the time or money to seek treatment due to her busy schedule. As for my former father-in-law, he's been searching for a new job, but his age and lack of relevant experience have been major obstacles. Unable to find his desired position, he's been forced to work as a cashier at a supermarket during the day and as a janitor at night." Listening to all this, a swirl of complicated emotions filled my heart. But more than anything, I felt that their current struggles were the consequences of their own choices. I briefly felt a pang of sympathy, but it quickly faded. Staying calm, I said, "Well, that's the result of them betraying us." Morris nodded in agreement and said, "You're right. Now you're finally free. Let's focus on your happiness and the baby's well-being from here on." I wholeheartedly agreed with Morris's words and felt, more than ever, that my life from now on would be dedicated to my child and me. The difficulties and pain of the past are now behind me, and I'm ready to embark on a new beginning. Afterward, through my lawyer, I demanded that my ex-husband and in-laws pay the alimony and return the savings that were used without permission. Though they claimed they were unable to pay, I had no doubts anymore. For the sake of my and my child's future, I stood tall and faced them head-on. I won't be thinking about marriage anymore. From now on, I'll live a happy life with my child," I declared with a smile. Morris responded, "That's the right decision. You're incredibly strong, and you deserve all the happiness that's coming your way," offering me words of encouragement. Our future is now focused on finding happiness together with my child. This confident new beginning marks a significant step forward for us.